Okay, so if you haven't watched or heard of Snowfall yet, what are you doing? It's a show that came out in July 2017 and ended in September 2023, just 2 years ago. And this is one of my favorite series or shows that I have watched in recent memory that I finished at kind of the same time while it was ending. I think I finished it last year, actually. And it's a show that really captured my attention and made me feel like this is how TV shows should be instead of what we have now, the majority of what we have now. Because there are some gems like other shows like Snowfall, Succession, Severance, and just other shows like that are just like being drowned out by all this other reality TV shows and all these other shows that really just take up space. Like, for example, some of the other CW shows that are still out there. And yeah, so when I watched this, when I finished it, some people were comparing it to Breaking Bad, saying it's the Black Breaking Bad or better than Breaking Bad, even calling Franklin Walter Black or something like that. And with that, I disagree to that though and say that it's its own thing and maybe not as good as Breaking Bad, but it's still kind of up there with Breaking Bad, Narcos, and all these other drug shows that have been made and we've watched. So for the people who haven't watched this show, let me just give you guys a quick rundown of the show and tell you why you have to watch it if you haven't yet. And I'll also say a bit about the pilot and see if you guys are interested in that. So let's just get into it. So the story of Snowfall follows the characters of Franklin Saint, Leon, Sissy Saint, Elton, Jerome, Louis, Teddy, Kevin, and some other people who come and go throughout the show. Now, these names may not mean much right now, but after a while, once you start watching the show, you'll see how everything affects them and how everything intertwines and is interconnected with them, and just how the show progresses and, you know, the stakes get higher and everyone grows and goes through that character arcs, and it's just very satisfying to watch, and it's just like very easy to watch, satisfying to watch, and very like fulfilling. It's just nice. So okay, our main character is Franklin Saint, who's just a young black boy out of high school and in college kinda, but he's kind of working a part-time job and stays with his mom Sissy and sometimes goes over to hang out with his uncle Jerome. Now, this show was created by John Singleton, the same person who made Boys in the Hood. So you know this isn't going to be a wholesome family story about this young black kid coming of age and, you know, being like the perfect image of a person. But anyway, rest in peace John Singleton. He sadly passed away while the final season was just wrapping up, and I think with what he did, he left behind a great creative legacy with his movies and his series, of course, just detailing the struggle and kind of like the norm of what happened in, not really the norm, but kind of what happens to a few black men in these parts of LA. But anyway, on with the story. So as I said, it just starts out with Franklin being a good kid, working hard for some money, going to his uncle to sell some stuff to get some more money to help his mom and him just, you know, live a nice life. Till one day, while just at home out of college doing anything, he went to hang out with his white friend Rob up at this crazy house where there's partying and stuff, and you know, there's a lot of drugs and a lot of drinking and just that type of party. So with this being the early 80s and Rob being rich and white, of course there was going to be some cocaine at the party, and surprisingly Rob was up there and he was selling it at the party and was trying to get Franklin in on it to sell some too, just to help them, you know, get rid of the cocaine and make some money too, saying that he could be making way more than what he's getting at his job. And with Franklin being an ambitious person and trying to, you know, just carve out a better life for him and his family, he sees potential in how much he could make and how he could get quick cash, because Rob was getting a lot of money. A lot of people at the time were just buying off of him, but Rob was also using the drugs, also partaking, and that really was kind of just, it will be important later, and was kind of just foreshadowing. So he borrows some from Rob to go sell in his neighborhood, where he just quickly sees that selling powdered cocaine isn't popular in South Central because it's too expensive and seen as a bougie drug. But eventually, after trying on his own to sell these bricks, he goes to his uncle's and aunt's house to get help on how to sell them, and his aunt connects him to Claudia, a powerful nightclub owner who also moves the coke in the nightclub to keep the party alive. So you can see he's already got a connect with who he can sell this to. So after a little testing from Claudia introduces Franklin to my favorite character and a lot of people's favorite character in the show, Avi. Now, the deal with Avi is that he's a bit crazy, but it's like controlled chaos. He's like calculated, but also just like crazy as hell. It was the first time Franklin and him meet, when he goes to try and get some more coke from him, because this guy can offer more than what Rob's getting, and Rob was also buying from him too. He makes Franklin wear a bulletproof vest and points a golden desert eagle at him to test him if he'd stand on his word, if he'd stand on business. But then again, he was also drunk too and had just killed someone in an earlier scene, so yeah, you can't really trust him like that. He's kind of a loose cannon and, you know, just doing whatever to help himself. But anyway, after that, Avi gives Franklin a whole kilo of cocaine and tells him that he'll be his supplier if Franklin is able to flip the whole kilo in a week, or he'd kill him. Now the stakes are real. Now it's not time to play these games anymore where you just go to Rob and get a bit of cocaine and sell it to Claudia. And now C knows that if he doesn't deliver, he's dead. But if he does, then there's a probability for him making crazy money, which he uses to keep himself in the game. And I think I've kind of condensed it a lot, but I think that's kind of just like how the first episode is, and kind of just introducing us to these characters, taking us through the trials and the struggles and, you know, the hustles and what they're doing. So what's Franklin's plan? How will he sell this cocaine? With him understanding that selling powder coke won't work in his community, Franklin decides to head back to his uncle Jerome's house for guidance. Jerome initially wants no part of it because he just sticks to selling weed and stuff, doesn't really want to get involved in all that high stake DEA stuff and, you know, the CIA also, and he just wants Franklin like to stay out of it because the consequences aren't really that, you know, that appealing. It's not worth it, and he wants him to just stay out of it and just stick to, you know, school and that job he has, and, you know, selling Jerome's weed on the side also. But if you've watched the show, you know that Franklin is persistent and gets what he wants when he wants it. So he goes around Jerome's back and goes to Jerome's girlfriend Louie, who is the most hated character in the series and community because she doesn't change. She doesn't become a better person, and she's very selfish, and, you know, everyone just hates her. She's just like the worst person ever. And to be honest, the whole series is kind of Louie's fault, and everything that happens is her fault because of her introducing him to people who'd help him move the product, which is Claudia and eventually Avi, which is basically like the beginning of the end, but we don't know it just yet. So Franklin starts to hustle. His hustle starts to pay off. He sees the potential to make serious money and, you know, get out of this house, you know, retire his mom, get a big house, buy some real estate, and, you know, eventually one day go all legit and just be a millionaire businessman. But this success obviously comes with problems, because being in the drug game obviously includes violence, distrust, and greed, which begin to surface not just with the rivals or other competition trying to take Franklin out, but in Franklin himself. Him attracting unwanted attention, gaining more confidence, and having to do anything to stay alive and keep going. And that's basically just like a bare bones structure of the plot and the series and what happens. And the reason I did this is so I keep it like vague enough but intriguing for you to just check it out on your own, so I don't spoil anything and just let you experience the show for the first time on your own. And that's basically the series. We follow Franklin as he goes deeper into the drug game, and his sense of morality gets corrupted as greed and pride start taking over him and slowly turn him into a monster. together, and it all comes to a head in the series finale, which is just a beautiful finale, an amazing finale. So yeah, I don't know if I did a good job explaining it or getting you guys interested, but that's Snowfall. And I don't know if you guys like the format, but I have a few ideas for other shows and games I wanna try in this format. And yeah, also my voice was shaky. I don't know how to fix that, but hope you guys enjoyed. Check out Snowfall. It's a good show. It's really fun to watch. It's really intriguing. Subscribe, like, and I'll see you. So yeah, if you haven't watched Snowfall yet, what are you doing?